one of the things that we wanted to start to top off our, you know, our talk was what's really going on right now. And, you know, dominating headlines is this election transition or lack thereof, and just a massive spike in COVID. And Danny and I just got back from retreat. I was there in person. Danny, you were there by virtual Zoom. And, you know, the keynote speaker was Ryan Holiday. And for those of you who don't know Ryan Holiday, he's written you know, quite a few books, a really remarkable young man. I really admired how many books he's gotten out, how much traction he's gotten. I think he's only 33 years old, but he wrote Ego is the Enemy, and the one that I just read, Obstacle is the Way. And, you know, dovetailing in was, I was pretty impressed with his approach on COVID. I personally hadn't heard this before, but he is a historian by nature. He really loves facts, and he loves history. He loves researching history, especially Stoicism. But, you know, when he started to talk about COVID, he said, hey, he basically had massive clarity around the fact that he knew it wasn't going to be something that was here and gone. You know, he cited the Spanish flu of 100 years ago. And he was talking, Danny, about his conversation with an epidemiologist once these vaccines came out. And for all of us in the mortgage industry, the second we heard the vaccine news, you saw rates spike in a day, which goes back to what we were talking about last time. In the near term, you know, rates are going to be low, we think, but there's going to be massive volatility. And so if I'm coaching my borrowers right now, I'm telling them, hey, I expect massive volatility right now, and now is not a time where I think we should try to play the market. This decision's totally up to you, but I'm much more fearful that things are going to spike based on this, you know, this brief news. We saw that with the vaccination. Then I am hopeful that rates are going to come down. So that's how I've been coaching my clients, letting them make the decision because of this volatility in the market. But coming back to what I was saying about COVID, what Ryan Holiday said in his conversation with this epidemiologist is that the most vaccines that we've ever produced in a month was 1 million doses, right? And that is all we had, putting everything at it. That was the most that we could produce. Now, maybe we could produce more than that now, but 350 million people. So even once a vaccine is out, it's safe, it's adoptable by the masses. We're talking about a year to get everybody, you know, inoculated with this vaccine, if that is in fact, you know, the route that we go down. So I think, you know, that really hit home for me, true or not. I didn't research any of his facts, but I wouldn't research because he's just so clear on, you know, everything. I really admired how concise and convicted this guy was. But it really hit home for me that even if we have, you know, a great news, hey, we have a cure for this thing, it could take us quite some time to really get that portion back. And then the economy has to recover after that. So what were your thoughts in listening to that, Danny?
Well, so the first thing I want to do is if we can just throw really quickly up the presentation here, jumping into current event, right? This is really, you know, to kind of your point, Mark, you know, following the numbers and what you know really is on the horizon for us as an industry, right? Is volatility, right? And the thing that I heard Ryan say was that, you know, think about the numbers, right? And you gotta, you know, if we were to transition to a place where we were producing 1 million doses of vaccine a day, right? So 1 million a day, which is far beyond the greatest capabilities. But let's not discount that, right? We're an innovative country. We rise to challenge, and there's a ton of technology resources being put behind this. But even if we got there, and let's say we did, that's 1 million a day, and there's 360 million people. That's a year, right?
Yeah,
you know?
Thanks for cleaning up my math on that, bro. I'm so glad I have a wingman.
yeah, dude. I appreciate being here. So right away we know, hey, look, this is not something that we're going to be able to flip the switch on it. But what does that mean? And I put down here the quote from Ryan Holiday, right? The obstacle is the way, because what he invites us to do in his book and in the keynote that Mark and I had an opportunity to experience is to get really curious about the challenges that face you in your life and business. And if you remember, I'll kind of check back into last session 2 weeks ago where our mindset shift was curious, not furious, right? So that's what we offered. And you can revisit that recording and kind of see what we said about that, because I can share personally, that was one of the greatest mindset shifts that I ever experienced in my life. And the stoic model that Ryan offered in The Obstacle is the Way is to say, curiosity is not just about, kind of accepting and understanding kind of that negative position or the challenge, right? This obviously challenging time, but it's to ask yourself, how can I turn this to my advantage, right? Where is the opportunity here that I can, using my, wits and willpower, drive down a path when everyone else is paralyzed by confusion and fear. And again, a reminder of last week's quote on the current event page, a confused mind does not act, right? There is tremendous opportunity right now for confusion. And that confusion can lead to paralysis, both in life and business. And this group, the Triibe group that's joining us here, should be uniquely suited to confront that potential paralysis with curiosity and then action. So, that's really what I took away, Mark, is that, yes, there could be a possible shutdown, right, that comes from the recent numbers. Maybe less likely, because of the kind of lack of action that we are seeing and the confusion that we're seeing kind of in national politics, right? A confused mind does not act there either. Yeah. But it's a possibility. What does that mean for the economy? What does that mean for interest rates? Another current event that we don't have up here as a bullet point, but there's starting to be, and I have a tendency to maybe get a little bit too technical sometimes, so I'll apologize in advance on that. But one thing that's really important for you to know, if you happen to be a mortgage industry professional, is that there's starting to be liquidity in the 1.5 coupon from in the secondary market. And what that means for us as an industry is there is a real possibility that we'll see sub 2% interest rates.
That is unbelievable. I cannot even.
It's a real possibility, but what I want this group to take away, and what I want to emphasize, and I think we want to emphasize, Mark, is that we can't put all of our eggs in that basket, because as much as that becomes a possibility for us, and all of the implications that come behind that, right? Liquidity implications for the companies that you work for, ops capacity implications for those companies, your own team's ability to be able to manage the emotion of being in constant overdrive, right? If you run I think it was Pulp Fiction, right? Like I'm a race car in the red, right? And you don't want to run the race car in the red, right? Your teams, or even just yourself, you've been running your race car in the red for too long. And if we continue down a path that takes us to sub 2% interest rates, then you have to make a conscious decision. Your business will have to make the decision how you want to confront that situation. But as likely, I would say, is that we see rates spike up the way we did, a couple of days ago, and having those temporary blips on the radar. What does that mean for your business? And it's leadership right now and foresight into the future and creating optionality for yourself and for your team. It has never been more urgent, which is why I'm so excited to be, talking about business planning today. So any more comments you want to make about that, or about, potential seasonality, Mark?
Yeah, the thing that really resonated for me while you were talking